Rookie minicamp starts today, so let's revisit the 2024 draft class.
And the Houston Texans make a trade. Let's dive into it.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily podcast on the Houston Texans. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers, to this Friday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Got some excitement going on for the Houston Texans the next couple of days. That's going to be fun, but I'm your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman. On the other side of the screen, Texans credential media member, Sports Illustrated's own Cody Davis. Thank you to all of our first-time listeners and viewers. Please subscribe, like, and comment to the Locked On Texan page on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, thank you to all of our returning listeners coming back to listen to Cody and I talk Texans as we head into the weekend for this Friday show. Cody, take it away.
Yes, sir. And on this Friday installment of Locked On Texans, rookie mini camp starts today, which means the 2024 draft class and the undrafted free agents will get their first opportunity to make a very good impact on the Houston Texans. So me and John going to have a very fun exercise looking at the players on both sides of the ball, the rookies, the first-year prospects, and see what they need to do in order to gain some valuable snaps for the 2024 season. But before we get into all that, John, the Houston Texans made a trade. They added a wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. Texans trade with the LA Rams for wide receiver Ben Skowronek, a 7th-round pick back in 2021. He's entering the last year of his contract, his rookie contract, through 3 years. He's had 575 receiving yards, only 1 touchdown. Now, Skowronek's offensive playing time has decreased. 82% of the offensive snaps back in 2022 of the snaps in general, back in 2022, which was a career year for him at that point, to 19% this last season. He finished with 66 yards on 8 catches. Now, he can contribute on special teams. He played in and was featured in 71% of the Rams' kicking opportunities his past couple of seasons. Skowronek's most productive season, 2022, 39 catches, 376 yards. I'm going to get a little crazy.
Oh, Lord.
First and foremost, I've been crazy all week, and I got killed on Twitter when I mentioned the Titans, right? But if we look at Ben Skowronek, right, he's a 6'3" guy, 225 pounds. He's not small whatsoever, right? He's kind of big. And if you look at his game, right, the LA Rams, and by the way, Sean McVay, and we know the offensive genius of mindset he has in terms of just being able to play call and get guys in great positions. I mean, we've seen him take somewhat no names and turn them into some very good household names for the LA Rams fan base. Ben Skowronek in 2022, 7th rounder, he got his opportunity with the LA Rams, and he was very productive. So you look at what he was able to do out there in LA, man. The one thing that I liked about Ben Skowronek as I watched some of his tape, man, he lines up anywhere on the field you need him. You need him at wide out, you can do that. During his time with the LA Rams, was featured in 50% of his snaps, around that number, wide out, 44.5 around that number in the slot. So you look at his ability to go inside and go out. Check this out, guys. He lined up 66 times in the backfield in 2022. Now, for comparison, that's for a wide receiver. The Texans wide receivers logged 30 snaps combined in the backfield last year. So, again, a versatile player. I don't think we should just project him to be a special teamer, right? I think that he has some ability to be a Swiss Army knife for this team. And that does include special teams. In 2022, again, his career year is 70 return yards, 300 and something yards in the air, right? 1 TD, but he was able to line up across the entire field offensively for the LA Rams. And so it got me thinking. Of course, one name that we're going to automatically look to and say, well, your time in Houston is done. That's Robert Woods, right? A former LA Ram. Now that leaves Houston with Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, who, by the way, we talked about this earlier, just having a rebound from not only getting back from an injury, but also the tragic news or the event that took place a couple of weeks ago, him getting shot. Thankfully, again, nothing was too drastic. Those are your three. John Metchie, and I saw a lot of this could be John Metchie's time up with Houston. Please cut it out. Xavier Hutchinson, a guy that I would consider a bubble guy, along with Noah Brown. They brought him back for 1 year, not a major deal. Houston can move on from him, right? So you look at Hutchinson, Brown, Woods. Those are your three bubble guys at their wide receiver position. All three of those players got opportunities last year for Houston. Ben Skowronek coming over from LA. I think there's some familiarity and similarities in what Bobby Sloak would like to do compared to a Sean McVay offense, right? All of that, but let's get a little bit crazier with it. With his ability to line up in the backfield, kind of like, in an H-back type of role. I mean, there was one play where he lined up as a fullback. I believe it was a play action, but he ran a post corner route out the backfield. That's something that if you got that on your roster, you try to look to exploit defenses with. What if he was oh man, I might get killed, a replacement for Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan is around 6'3", 6'4". He's around 220 to 240, right? We know about his 4.5 speed. I don't know Ben Skowronek's 40 speed, but he's not slow whatsoever. He is a wide receiver. Also, when you look at his game, going back to 2022, he is a hell of a blocker, right? And again, he is not a small guy. He doesn't play small at all. He plays big. He plays to his frame. So I may get a little bit carried away with this, but when I sit back and I look at Houston bringing in a guy like Ben Skowronek, who, let's face it, his time in LA was up, right? He was a 7th rounder. He did some good things back in 2022. He'll come in, and the one thing he'll add to this team, Cody, right off the bat is competition, right or wrong.
Yeah, most definitely.
But could he be in the running for tight end 3 on this roster, giving Tegan Quatoriano's question marks around him, and if he get an opportunity to just beat out Brevin Jordan, being able to be a consistent blocker, which we saw Brevin Jordan progress in that area of his game last year, being able to run some of those routes a little bit better than Brevin Jordan, being able to line up in different spots for this offense that at times may want to get a little bit tricky. Am I going too far-fetched right now, or could you guys see that being an option?
I think you're going a little bit far. If this trade had happened last year when there was a lot of questions surrounding Brevin Jordan, then I would say you probably have a point. But I don't see Bobby Sloak and the Houston Texans kind of replacing Brevin Jordan after the season that he just had. Brevin Jordan had a phenomenal bounce back season, and as of right now, he is tight end number 2. I don't want to dive too much into the tight end conversation because in the second segment, we will look at Kay Stover when you talk about the guys that the Houston Texans drafted in 2024. He is a guy that's definitely going to create some heavy competition at tight end. So I kind of want to save, where does Brevin Jordan and the possibility of Ben could fall in that tight end unit and stuff. I want to say that for the next segment. But John, you already talked about the main core of what this wide receiver unit would definitely look like. However, there's 2 guys I do believe their roster spot with this organization could definitely be in jeopardy. And that's Johnny Johnson III and our guy, Jared Wayne. Both of those guys have played vital role for the Houston Texans on special teams. Both of those guys have been known for being solid blockers on the special teams unit. And both of those guys have the ability to where if the situation presents itself, they can step up and be a solid factor in the passing attack if that situation ever comes. However, when you take a look at Ben, he possesses those same attributes. Plus, John, to your point, he already has the experience. And when you look at the fact that not only does he has the experience, but he also played a vital role in helping the Los Angeles Rams win that Super Bowl title a couple years ago, that makes things even more challenging. Put it like this. With the addition of Ben, you look at Johnny Johnson III, Jared Wayne. When we get to cut down day, let's say mid to late August, if I'm not mistaken, I would not be surprised if we sitting here mentioning one of those three guys as players who did not make the final 53-man roster or practice squad.
You know what's also shocking though when you look at what he does, Ben Skowronek, excuse me. You know, I wonder if his ability to block as well as he does was intriguing to this team, because when you look at maybe being a Swiss Army knife or the versatility that he can bring to an offense, I wonder if one of the Yankee twins could have been able to fill that void, right? It was signed last week or 2 weeks ago. And you know, we'll see how they do during training camp, starting with the rookie OTAs later today. But I do wonder, like, okay, what is it about Skowronek? And it was a 7th round pick. You're not going to miss it, right? And we were actually shocked that Nick even picked in the 7th round this year. Got some good talent, of course, but you're not going to miss it. And will he even use that pick moving forward? Who knows? But overall, I do look at, you know, what is it about this young man? The ties for the Rams and the San Francisco offense, very similar, right? We know how much they like to move guys around, a lot of motion, right? Love to exploit matchups. What is it about Ben that made Nick Caserio and this coaching staff, don't believe that he made the move without consulting with them, sit back and say, well, he's the guy that we like to bring in, not only for competition purposes, but can he come in and push maybe some of the other guys? Are we on the fence about a couple of guys on our roster right now? We feel like, hey, he can be a little bit more impactful on special teams in this area. He can be a little bit more impactful on our offense when we want to have a 4th or 5th or 6th guy on the field if something happens. Well, we trust that he'll be able to be productive because he's coming from a similar offense. So I like the signing. Again, I think I like it the most because they didn't give up anything to get him. And I could be far-fetched, but Brevin Jordan is also 6'3", 240, 245. Ben Skowronek, 6'3", 225, 230, right? He's a good blocker, right? He can line up in the backfield. He can get out there. He ran a 4.59. Why not play around with it a little bit is all I'm saying. I mean, we saw Jeff Driscoll convert to tight end.
That was the dark ages, John. That was the dark ages of this franchise.
We saw Deshaun Watson play safety.
That was definitely the dark ages. That was purgatory right there.
Oh my goodness! But let's get to the fun talk. Can Cade Stover take the lead as tight end number 2 for this team? You talk about a versatile guy that can kind of do a little bit of everything at the tight end position. We'll talk about that and the rookie OTAs kicking off later today. Don't go nowhere. Locked On Texan Fridays. When it comes to your financial future, you think you've done it all. You've saved, you've researched, you've invested all that you can. Now you need to take those investments to the next level by using what every financial great uses. That's Yahoo Finance. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finances has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for an extra guidance, Yahoo Finance can give you all the tools and data you need in one place. They are the #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at the financial news cycle, including breaking news, original editorial perspectives, analyst ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news, analysis, Visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com. The number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. And I'm also here to tell you about eBay Motors. I'm sure you guys know that passion, drive, and patience is the formula for winning championships, but it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Motor Guarantee Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP of the road and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guarantee Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. Before we start talking about Cade Stover and can he lead the Houston Texans, that group right now, can he be the number 2 tight end? I got somebody on the phone. Y'all may know him as Corey Barrett. I call him Barrett the Bully. But really quick, what do you think this offense can look like with the additions of Stephon Diggs, Ben Skowronek now, and just CJ going into another year?
I think the offense can be very explosive. We have potentially 3 top wide receivers. Just depends on how they're deployed in the offense. I think we have a do-it-all tailback, Joe Mixon. I'm looking for a resurgent Dameon Pierce. And I also feel like George's going to have a little something to add. But, at the end of the day, I feel like Joe Mixon's going to be the bell cow that we've been missing since the days of Arian Foster. The Skowronek addition is very sneaky, much like how it was when we added Beck last year. He's a guy that can do a lot of things. He has a lot of skills. He's a tough, just like football playing type guy, football playing Jesse. I think kind of him and Cade Stover kind of mimic each other. Cade's a little bit more, not a little bit, he's a lot bigger and more physical, but I think that Skowronek is a better route runner and can get deep. And he can do some things out of the backfield. It may spell trouble for Beck, going in training camp and into the preseason games. But I'm excited about the offense, man. I just have one really big concern, and I don't know if I'm ready to reveal it yet, but I think we got one real big concern that's left out there for us, man.
Y'all may know him as Dr. Barrett on Twitter, but make sure you follow him on Twitter at the Corey Barrett with 2 T's. That's my guy, man. Thank you, Barrett. The Bully. So he mentioned Cade Stover. It doesn't sound too far-fetched. I'm not alone thinking that Ben Skowronek can fill a void as, maybe their 3rd tight end or H-back, as some people would like to put it, just his versatility. But, Cody, you like Cade Stover a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about it. Can he lead not wide receiver group, but the tight end group, the rest of the guys, TQ, Brevin Jordan? Can he take the lead as tight end too? We've talked a lot about the wide receivers this offseason.
Yeah.
The tight end group has kind of been, overlooked a little bit.
Yeah, it's not the fact that it's been overlooked. It was just one of those positions to where you got so much production and productivity from Dalton Schultz, and then as tight end number 2, Brevin Jordan, to the point it was like, okay, that position always seems set. However, when you take a look at Cade Stover, and with today being the first day of rookie mini camp, John, when you take a look at the depth chart as of right now, and I circled all of the rookies that the Houston Texans have coming into rookie minicamp. You got Jordan, you got Stover, you got Ladarius Henderson, and you got Blake Fisher. When you take a look at the 4 offensive rookies on this depth chart as of right now, the only guy I feel that has an opportunity to really, and I mean really, challenge some of the veterans at his position group is Kay Stover. And I'm not saying it only because we already know that he has a relationship with CJ Stroud. Him and CJ Stroud already has that connection. Both of those guys have a close relationship on and off the field. However, John, once again, when you take a look at the offensive rookies on the offensive side of the ball, he's the only one I feel that can actually challenge, not for a starting spot, because look, unless something like injury or something happened, please knock on wood for that. Dalton Schultz is definitely going to be your tight end number one. However, when you take a look at tight end number two, I think that's where things start to get very, very interesting, because I still feel like Brevin Jordan has a strong gas on it, but if he doesn't perform in training camp, struggles, or get hurt, I can definitely see Kay Stover coming in, showcasing what he can do on the field, and actually stealing that role. And I know some of you guys are probably thinking to yourself, well, what about TQ? What about Tegan Quatoriano? Well, put it like this. I think his days here in the city of Houston is done, unfortunately. I understand when you go back and you take a look at his rookie season in 2022, the back half of his rookie season, it was pretty promising. And we had some high hopes going into year two for Tegan Quatoriano. However, he missed his entire second season. So now not only is he going up against a better version of Brevin Jordan, but a guy who within the next year or two can definitely be tight end number one. However you look at this, I really think TQ's time here in the city of Houston is done, unless he go out there and have a phenomenal mandatory mini camp, voluntary mini camp, training camp, and everything else in between. But once again, John, when you take a look at these rookies coming in, I think Kay Stover really has a real opportunity to shake up this tight end unit. I know some people out there still talking about Blake Fisher. I don't see Blake Fisher coming in and taking that starting job from Titus Howard. I definitely do not see that. And then, of course, you got Jordan. Jordan is in a very interesting situation. I think he's definitely going to have an opportunity to make an impact on this offense. However, it all goes back to what you and I have been talking about since the end of the 2023 season. Can Dameon Pierce have that resurgence like we really want to see? Your boy Corey Barrett just finished talking about it. If he has that resurgence, I can see the Houston Texans using Jordan on special teams or using him as, running back number 3 or whatever the case might be. But as of right now, man, going into rookie mini camp on the offensive side of the ball, I just have my eyes on Kay Stover, and I'm not being biased, guys. I promise.
Well, I think one thing we need to do is just talk about what does rookie mini camp look like, right? It's a 3-day run, trial run for the new drafted rookies and undrafted free agents to get an opportunity to showcase their talent and learn the team's playbook. That's the biggest objective of the next 3 days, right? Getting them in, learning this playbook and getting them acclimated to the NFL, to this facility, to this franchise, to this city in a sense, and building that teammates chemistry with their teammates, right? And so, like, you're looking at typically players arriving at the team facility. They begin with those team meetings. A lot of those practices are to evaluate players, to see how they process and carry out information. Practices, of course, are not fully padded. So you're looking at some of the smaller things, and you're also looking at players just coming in and getting team issue gear and their jerseys, right? So it's different from what the actual camps with the veterans is, what that looks like. But overall, it's a time for Houston to just get a lot of these guys. And by the way, Kay Stover, who we just talked about, Jamal Hill, Jawar Jordan, Solomon Byrd, Marcus Harris, and Ladarius Henderson, all but the top 2 selections for Houston in the 2024 NFL draft. They've all signed their contracts, right? So it's just a day or moment, a period, a 3-day period to get those guys in so they can understand that, hey, once you leave the practice field, you ain't got to go to class. Class is no more. This is your class. You eat, sleep, and breathe football, and that football will be a brand of Texans football. Cody, you'll be out there the next couple of days, or however the schedule will look like. You'll be able to bring that information in. But I think it's going to be a fun time for not only the listeners, but overall the players, right? They are NFL players now. The coaches getting their hands on them, on their coaching staff. I think it'll be a fun time for a lot of those guys. And I like you highlight Kay Stover. because I think tight end 2 is up for grabs.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it. And one thing about Houston is they're going to put the best guys out on the field. No doubt about that. So we'll see how it starts. It starts tomorrow. I mean, today for these guys, man. Like for Stover, getting out there and just being able to do things fluently will give him a head start, I think. This next segment is brought to you by our sponsors, BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need an opportunity to get something off of our chest, big or small. Certain things can really start to get to you, and it's important to let it out, especially to someone who's unbiased on your life. And so let's take a look at some of the things that may bother us, Cody. You know what? You know what bothers me?
What's that?
This week I've been bothered by people who don't listen to the lyrics of the songs and the music that's being made and only goes off of the beat. That bothers me because you guys are missing really 80% of what's being produced. The lyrics matter, especially when you have a high-level artist like Kendrick Lamar giving you bar after bar after bar after bar. I'll explain that later, right? So that's kind of what's been bothering me this week on a little small personal front. But regardless if it's big or small, honestly, therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than music, than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off of your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient and flexible to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon to get 10% off your first month.
It's funny that you mentioned Kendrick Lamar in that read for BetterHelp because the beef started because J. Cole said that himself, Drake, and Kendrick Lamar was the big three. Kendrick got mad and, just said, the big three, and that's when the whole thing started. But John, I really don't think we're going to have that issue here in the city of Houston with the Houston Texans, especially when you take a look at the rookies on the defensive side of the ball, because when you take a look at the 4 rookies, man, I do believe that the Houston Texans can rely on 3 rookies to definitely step up and play a very important role for the Houston Texans. That's Kamari Lassiter, that's Tullock, and that's linebacker Jamal Hill. All 3 of those guys definitely have an opportunity to shake up their respectable position group, and they're definitely going to be able to help the Texans in a way to where if somebody is lacking, if somebody get hurt, or without a shadow of a doubt, if they're able to win their respectable training camp position battle, all 3 of those guys can definitely play a major role for the Houston Texans in 2023.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it'll be in different ways, man. Like, put that graphic back up. I think that, of course, Kamari Lassiter and Kalen Bullock, we are expecting those guys to probably play the most of the bunch. Jamal Hill is a name that I think when you look at some of his tape and you look at some of the things he can do on a football field coming from Oregon, it's intriguing. Between Bird and Harris, the 2 D linemen, I think maybe we might see more Bird than Harris. Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, Derek Barnett are still on this team, but what is Houston going to get, if anything? Of course, speedy recovery, and we hope everything's okay with Dylan Horton. Mario Edwards Jr., Ali Gay, So maybe Berg can get an opportunity to be a part of that, second line of rotational edge rushers. There's no rush for any of these guys to get on the field. And they are in a position to where you look at the end of the year and you're like, okay, you only played 40% of the defensive snaps and you were drafted in the second round. Well, that could be a good thing for Houston, right? So I like him. I think of all of the players, Solomon Bird may be the one guy. We hadn't had an opportunity to really talk about him too much. Maybe the one guy that may shock us all. Thank you guys for listening to today's episode of the Locked On Texans podcast. Please subscribe, like, and comment to the podcast on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody, COTYDAVIS_24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Peace.